What's shaking, everybody? Luke Dancy here, and good morning from Las Vegas. And Murray, where are you? In California, right?
Yeah, in Burbank. We're shooting for a couple days.
Nice. So, Murray the Magician, thanks for being here, man. I really appreciate this.
Thanks for having me on. Good morning.
Yeah,
I'm just waking up, having my coffee.
nice. I haven't had my coffee yet, so I'll pretend to be as awake as you are. How about
Excellent. Sounds good.
that? This is going to be a lot of fun because Murray does a lot of stuff, and we'll fill you in more on the background of Murray and all that. But not only a Las Vegas headliner, celebrity magician, but also you really have pivoted and really owned the space when it comes to Facebook and YouTube, when it comes to magic and kind of mixing that with pranks and stuff. So we'll get into some of that as well. But how did you get into all this stuff in the early days? That's where I always like to start. What's your background? How did you get into magic and all this stuff?
I was always an entrepreneur since like the age of 5. I started dancing at the age of 5, 4 or 5 years old. I trained ballet. I danced Ukrainian and break dance and all that stuff. And I danced Ukrainian because my half of my heritage is Ukrainian. That's where the Sacha comes from, my real last name. And then Murray is the Scottish part. So when I played accordion, I danced. I did some folklore type stuff like that. And then sorry, my dogs are barking beside me. Bailey, relax. And so anyways, after that, I started. I had. Give me 1 second. Hold on. Okay, guys, relax. So we got like 3 chihuahuas here. I rescued the world, it seems. So anyways, what the deal is? We started doing. I started paper route, and I realized at the same time, starting magic around 5, 6, 7 years old, I could get magic shows. If I just put flyers in these papers, I delivered door to door. And as I did that, I thought, wait a minute, it's free advertising. I'm already delivering papers, getting paid for it. Why don't I put a flyer in there and advertise for myself? So I started doing that at 7, 8 years old. And I would start getting bookings for 25 or 50 bucks for a half an hour birthday party to kids that were almost my age, and my dad would drive me. And then also I was a lifeguard, and at the rec centers I'd put an ad up on the wall for birthday parties, 50 bucks. And that's kind of how I started learning how to make money in advertising. I'd use the Commodore 64 computer, print off a flyer, and I'm dating myself by saying Commodore 64, but that was what I used back then. And then from there on, I got a degree in radio broadcasting, did birthday parties from the age of 12 to like 19 years old, and then I wanted something more. So around 17, 18, I started inventing and creating this act called the CD Act, which I wanted to be different and unique. I grew up watching people like Tommy Cooper and Cardini and Juliana Chen at the time as well with the cards. And I thought, why don't I do something with CDs? It's brand new. That's the biggest problem with magicians. We don't look in the mirror and go, it's time to change. We get very comfortable, locked in, and dated. It's magic is one of the only art forms I think somehow we don't move along and become trendy. We lock in and then we just don't change. A lot of these magicians, and so I saw that and went, you know what? That's it. Can't do the act anymore. It was a good thing while it was, but I don't want to be walking on stage with the dated acts. I see a lot of magicians, which I'm not going to name, that still are stuck in the 80s, and back in the 80s they were phenomenal, massive stars, and they're still looking and doing the same thing as the 80s, and and they're very talented. They just haven't changed with the time. So for me, I put that away, and it's in my garage, and I've not opened the case since that date, and that was probably about 10
Wow.
15 years ago, I think. So that was it, and then that's when I started moving into more trendier things, doing the YouTube thing, wearing a t-shirt and jeans on TV, which I thought I'd never do because it's just not my style. But I realized that's the way the world's going, is sometimes you have to bend a little bit.
True that. And speaking of t-shirt and jeans, I wanted to mention something to you. Daniel Rex noticed something. He said, it's cool that you're wearing a Comedy Store shirt representing Pauly Shore. Obviously, we were talking about that before this.
Yes, yeah, I love the Comedy Store, Laugh Factory, Ice House. I did open mics on all those stages back in the I guess it would be early 2000s, and that's how I want to become funny. And so many magicians, they think they're funny, they're not, because they just haven't studied comedy enough, and I wanted to learn how to be funny just without magic. It's easy when you have a trick. If you've been doing it for 20 years, that's your safety net. So I'd go and do open mics when I had my show at the Frontier in Vegas. And I'd wait in line at Laugh Factory, wait in line at the Comedy Store. They have something called a potluck, where you pull a number, and hopefully if it's your number, you come back the following Monday and do the 3-minute open mic at the original room. And same with Improv, Ice House, all these great comedy clubs here. So that's how I try to become funny. You know, I'd go up there with 10 new jokes, 9 would bomb, and 1 would be good, and that was the one I'd save and come back to Vegas and put that in the show. Just keep building, you know. So yeah, so I'm a huge fan of the whole comedy scene here, even though I don't live here. So I'm not as the people here.
Yeah. And I guess it's like magic, you know, you don't know if something's good until you try it. So there you go. You do it, you
Oh,
see it, and you
totally.
keep it.
Yeah, how many people, you know, I always tell people, I'm sure you know this, that they think it's great in their living room. And of course, you're the best in your living room. You're the best in your boxer shorts, looking at the mirror. And until you actually take that trick onto a live stage, everything goes, you know, you never know. You have a waitress walking in front of you, somebody yells and blows the joke, whatever the case is, you never know until you get that out in front of a live audience. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, true that. And, you know, obviously being in Las Vegas, you have a revolving door of audiences, which is pretty nice, I would have to say. You know, they all come to you. You know, you're out there, and obviously the promotion, you know, you have to do all the promotion and stuff too. But it's kind of cool having like that revolving door of people coming in and out of Vegas. You know, it's cool.
yeah, I'm very lucky to be able to work 6 nights a week. Or before the world shut down, I was working 7 nights a week, almost 2 shows a night, because I do my show at the Tropicana, and then I just signed a contract with Fantasy. It's a review show at the Luxor, so I've been doing that every night as well, 10 o'clock. I just come in and do 15 minutes. The show's all about the girls, you know, but I'm the comedy relief of it, so it's kind of cool. I can just walk right across the street, do 15 and go home. So it's nice. It's great. You know?
Very cool. The one secret everyone wants to know, and I'm sure that you knew this was going to be asked at some point. The biggest secret I want to know is who does Murray's hair, because that is a secret I'd kill for. And obviously,
I know.
just kidding around, but still.
Right? You know, it's funny. I love the line too. Jerry Lewis, who I got to know towards the end of his life, when he met me, he says, even before I could even say anything, he was like, "What did you do? Stick your finger in a light socket?" And it was, I've heard that lots, but coming from Jerry Lewis, you go, you know, that's pretty cool. And you know, I always wanted to brand when I started magic or anything. You know, I grew up watching Lucille Ball, Liberace, Howard Stern, all these people, Jay Leno, Carrot Top, all these people, you know, all these people had a locked-in brand and a look. And I always love old cars as well, because old cars, you can tell what year and what make it was, because every car was so proud of their distinct style. And nowadays, every car looks the same.
Mhm.
Everyone's trying to be the same. And I've just never been that person, because I wanted to be recognized, even if my stuff wasn't that good. But I wanted to at least leave the room that people remember me, even if they didn't know my name, or if I wasn't famous enough to be remembered yet. So I tried everything, you know. And for Halloween, I wore my hair like this once. I actually colored it half green, half orange, and I put an upside down triangle on the back. Me and a buddy did it, because I didn't know what I wanted to go for Halloween, so I dressed all in black, messed my hair up like this. I used to comb my hair real nice to the side and back, and I messed it up, and I went out, and it was an upside down triangle, and we tried to figure out if people could see what we were or guess what we were, and we were like, guess, and basically the upside down triangle was the Guess symbol for Guess jeans and everything.
Oh, wow.
And that's all it was, because we didn't know what we were going as. We just thought it'd be fun to mess our hair up, spray it, and just go as that. I guess what we are. And so that, but everyone I walked around said, "Man, you really have that cool face for that kind of hair," like Fido Dido, you know, David Bowie, all those people that have cool hair. And I saw Rod Stewart on a talk show. He was in his 40s, and I thought he was old then. And now I'm like, wait a minute, he wasn't old. And I thought, that's a cool hairstyle, and no magician has ever had it. No magician had anything like that. There was a blonde magician, Siegfried, of course, and a few others, but no one messed it up. And I thought, I'm going to do that, and that's my look, because it worked for Andy Warhol. So far it's stuck.
Yeah, it's definitely worked. And as Daniel Rick says, your hair's been ever solidified. If you cut it, we probably won't recognize you. So yeah.
No, if I took it back, I go swimming. I can get and take my glasses off. I can walk past everybody.
You mentioned before about, you know, the history, and you love. I know you love the old cars. I know you love the old cars, and you love to, you know, care about the history. Also of magic when it comes to the older generations and the people that have come before and the magic that's come before. And one of the people I know that was super close to you, and I know that I send my condolences to you now, you know, after the fact, of this guy talking about Marvin Roy, Mr. Electric. And, you know, I wanted to kind of ask you a little bit about how that relationship started, and if you could tell us a little bit about it, because that's a pretty iconic thing, man.
Yeah, I got very lucky. I think, you know, when you have a mentor in your life, whether it be a musician, if you a writer or whatever you do for a living, if you have a mentor or somebody to ask questions and for them to be honest with you, not just say you're good. It's unbelievable. So I met Mark at one of my first magic conventions. I was 16, and we went down to Brush Prairie. It was a Pacific National PCAM, Pacific Coast Association of Magicians convention. And Cranian, he held it. A very well-known magician in the Pacific Northwest and in Vancouver, Washington. We're at like a Motel 6. We were all, magic convention type thing. And I was in the lobby, and the gentleman who convinced me to go down there was my first mentor that really helped me out a lot in Vancouver, British Columbia, was Sean Farquhar, and still a very dear friend. And he convinced me to go down there. So I went down with a bunch of magicians, and they took care of me. My parents were like, all right, just, take good care of him. And this couple walked in the lobby of the this motel, and they looked unbelievable. They looked like they walked up the Champs-Elysees in Paris. She had her hat, beautiful matching jacket with pants and shoes. He walked in with a tie, and I was like, oh my God, who are they? And we're only a small little roadside hotel where they have conventions, at that time. And Sean was like, you don't know who they are? I said, no. Oh my God, are they part of the magic? And I said, yes, that's Mr. and Mrs. Electric. I'm like, what? Who? Like Mr. and Mrs. Electric. I'm like, what do they, Mr. Light, what do they do? So he lights light bulbs in his hand. Like, you've got to be kidding me. He does not do this. Oh, yeah, it's one of the greatest acts in the world. I said, what? So later on, of course, they were the big headliners that year. They never did their act because they were starting to slow down and not do the act as much. But they played a video of it, and they also did a lecture. And they were also starting to sing where they were helping people out, like, a one-on-one kind of build your act and get it to be a big act. And so anyways, I met them that way. They seemed to really take on to younger people because they loved younger people that weren't jaded. They liked to learn. And so we became a friendship ever since then. And back in the day, the way that we communicated, computers were not around right then. They're at least not for internet. The Prince hotels in Japan or all over the world, I'd get postcards or faxes sent from Carol. She'd always write an angle from corner to corner, never flat straight down, always corner to corner, and always ask me about how things are going. And I'd mail them a VHS tape of my act and things like that. And they really, really took it under their wing. And then we became very good friends. They were like second parents to me.
That's awesome.
So, and Mark, last time I talked to Mark was about a couple weeks just before he had a stroke and then passed away. But he was 90, 94, 95, and it was wonderful that time because I knew every time I left Palm Springs after I saw him, I thought, this could be it. You never know. When somebody's in their 90s, every day is a gift. And I absolutely adore.
He lived a good life, that's for sure. And it's really cool for someone like you that, you have your own Vegas show, you're doing all these things, but yet you still have that connection to the guys that paved the way for a lot of us, that made magic what it is now for all of us. And a lot of people just skip over that. They forget about the past because they don't see it. It's
I got Luke, I got super lucky. I don't know what happened. In my whole life, I've always been about 8 years behind the trend, or 8 or 10 in my life. I don't know what it is, or maybe I don't jump on the trend wagon right away, And somehow I got into the business and I got well known in the magic world, always a little bit later than everyone else. Like in the business, I was always working with like Jason Byrne with a phenomenal bird act and a dear friend of mine now, but he was always 8 or 9 years ahead of me. I know he's a few years older than me, but he was really big. And then many other magicians, I thought, man, what do I got to do to get there? And it just wasn't my time. And then 5, 6 years later, it was my turn.
Mm-hmm.
But I became friends with, I got to work with Jay Marshall and Shimada, and all these great magicians, like Marv and Carol and these people that are just, you sit back and go, Ali Bongo, over in England, and I just sit back and look at this and go, man, I just caught them in that last 5, 10 years of their lives to work with them, to hang with them. Tommy Wonder's another one, and the list just goes on. I'm not name dropping, I'm just saying I was just very lucky that just as I started to come into the business as somewhat of a name, I guess, they've been in the business for a long time. I got very lucky to get to work with all these really cool acts that built what magic is right now. And that's the problem right now with this YouTube era. And I can say it because I am on YouTube. These kids are learning to perform for this camera right here in front of you. Mm-hmm. And I can fool you very easily when I'm looking at one camera with one eye right here. And what I'm seeing now, a lot of these kids is they'll do YouTube videos, become very famous online. But when they walk on stage, they have no idea how to greet an audience, how to be charming, charismatic, how to pull the audience in. And it's very interesting how that is starting to become a lost art form, whereas there's very few people have learned that. And for me, That's what it's all about. In that first 15 seconds you walk on stage, you need to grab them. If you ever watch like a Barry Manilow, Wayne Newton, Tom Jones, Tina Turner, Diana Ross, the list goes on. Bruno Mars has it. Justin Timberlake has it. Michael Bublé has it. Lady Gaga has it. There's a lot of other acts that don't have it that are really famous. But it's just something I think we're losing the art form from. And I think it's important. If you want to be a star,
Yeah.
on stage, live, and off stage, you got to have all that, in my opinion.
Sure. And speaking of being on stage, I had a question come in. I know it's a big question, so if you want to keep it short, that's super cool. But Phil would like to know, how do you get a headliner show? Besides winning AGT or kind of winning a way into it, you've done it. You've done it for a long time. But if someone has that as a goal, what type of advice would you give someone that wants to have a show and headline in Las Vegas?
How do you get a headliner show? Well, if you go on Amazon on the wish list, you can just click it, you buy it, and you get it in a couple of days. You got Prime. That's a hell of a deal, if you're asking me. Uh, no, in all truth, how do you get a headliner show? I don't know. I'm from Vancouver, Canada. I'm a Canadian. I want to say I'm from a small town, but I'm not. Vancouver's a big city, I guess, and I live in a town right beside it called Burnaby, which is really right beside it. There's only a street difference. But I don't know how I got to Vegas. I mean, I think the reason and how I got to Vegas was I just never took no for an answer. You know what I mean? I never thought I couldn't do it. Even those many times, and there's many videos out there where you look at me and go, wow, you really can't do it. But I never chose to believe that, because I grew up watching these stars. I read autobiographies all the time. And I love that because every autobiography of every star, it never happened overnight. It was because they had a dream, passion. They never said no to anything, and they just tried and tried and tried. And everyone is different. It's like a snowflake. No one getting to the top is the same pattern. It's not like going to law school or being a chiropractor or a firefighter or a police officer. There's no academy, and if you do this and this and this, and you pass, you will have this opportunity to do this. In entertainment, we don't have that. It's really a crapshoot. You can be talented and amazing, but if no one knows about you, it just doesn't matter. And it's all about the hand that you shake. So I think, how do you get a headlining show in Vegas? Well, you try to become different, original. You try to create your own net worth in the sense of, why do they want to see you? Be really honest with yourself. Why are you so important? Yes, to your mom and dad and brother and sister, you're amazing because you're family and they love you. But why does the rest of the world want to see you? Who cares? And you have to kind of understand and figure out, what do I need to bring to the table for people to come and want to see me? Like, what drives you to go and see an artist perform? Whether it be, Aerosmith, the Beatles, John Mayer, anybody. Why do you want to go see them versus just a guy down the street in a bar playing? Yep. And that's what you need to create. You need to create this energy and interest that people really want to see you, and be charming and talented and entertaining. And then you move on to bigger things and take a risk. I always say, if you want to, work in the oil business, go to Kuwait, Dubai, or Texas. Don't go to Seattle. Not a lot of oil there. But if you want, like, sailing and rain, go to Seattle. Yep. And great coffee. But that's, you kind of got to go where the wind blows. And you want to do farming. Farming's there in the Midwest. Than in Alaska. So you got to go. So that's the reason you want to be on Broadway. Go to New York. Sleep in your car. Sleep in a little one bedroom for $5,000 a month, and go audition, shake hands, get to meet producers and casting directors. And really do that because, or unless you have a very famous family, and you can just walk your way into it, because people don't realize that a lot of people in Hollywood, a lot of people in New York, if somebody's successful, you do have that luxury of knowing somebody and you can walk in the door like that. But a lot of people don't have that opportunity. And just keep trying, and do small things, get involved, try to be a guest star in a show, learn what it's like, and then go from there. It's not easy holding an audience for 75 to 90 minutes. You got to be really creative and entertaining.
And you've been doing it for how many years now? Let's just pat you on the back a little bit. How many years have you been doing Vegas?
I guess I opened in January 26th. 2002, and I'm still there on the Strip. There's a few years, like when the world fell in 2008 to 10. I was like, I'm out of here. I started touring. I went back to Europe, Korea, Asia, on some ships and that, because I just wanted to work, because everyone was losing their jobs. It's almost like now everyone was in a position where, like, what do we do now? And I was like, I'm out of here. I'm going to work. And I came back after it all settled down, bought a house, a couple homes, and then open shop up again in Vegas. But the key is never underestimate anybody. And what I mean by that is every secretary that you walk into a meeting with a big boss, guess what? Be nice to that secretary, because one day they could own the company,
Yep.
and one day most of them do, or they could be the daughter of the owner or the son of the owner. Always be nice to the secretary, because they're the ones that know everything. They know every phone call and every note that's going in and out of that office. And one day they could own the place. And I'll be surprised in about 10 years you go back to get an interview or want a job. If you treated that secretary like crap, you will not get past that door, because they probably own the company. So be very aware of who you're talking to.
Well said. And that's a long time. I've got a sound effect. You won't be able to hear this, but it's applause right now. 18 friggin' years. That's crazy, dude. That is absolutely crazy. So congrats on that. And it's true. That don't give up attitude. It sounds so easy, but it's definitely not when you're in the middle of it and you're trying to do it. And Vegas is a very brutal town, and I think that's a reality a lot of people don't realize. They see all the lights and everything, and they think it's a fun and easy place to come to, but it's cutthroat and very competitive,
Yeah.
especially with Magic. So, yeah.
Super competitive, And I also tell people, I said, if you're going to go open a bank for the first time, right? Don't open it on Wall Street, because they're pretty aggressive, especially Goldman Sachs,
Yeah.
So if you're going to go open a show in a small town, middle of Iowa, Kansas City, Florida somewhere, Iowa, or whatever the heck, be ready for Vegas. Like, even when you're ready, you're not ready. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where you really got to buckle in, and it's not easy. You know what I mean? And you're not going to make money right away. You got to do it because you love it, understand your market, and don't have a lot of overhead. If you have a lot of overhead, you're not going to survive. That goes for any business. I don't care whether it's, whether you're selling shoes or you're working with horses or whatever the heck you do.
Yep.
Watch your overhead.
The one thing that I wanted to touch on too before I let you go, because I know you've got a busy day ahead of you. He's been filming a lot of videos, which is why he's over in California. I'm kind of speaking for you, but you're a busy guy.
Yeah, no.
So, yeah.
We shot a few videos today, and we had a fun video yesterday. Shoot, it was random, because when I come to town, we never know what we're shooting. And last night, we're gonna upload in a week or two. Went over to this really cool home, massive home, and just down the street. I'm in Toluca Lake here, and we shot at the Phase House, F-A-Z-E. And if anyone's into YouTubing, it's usually kids would know this. The Phase House is all these gamers living in one house. And then they also have their own channels, and they do their own pranks and stuff. And it's a massive, probably the #1 house on YouTube. And they're now living in, I guess, it was originally David Guetta's house, the DJ, with his wife. I think even when you walk in, there's huge headphones out in the yard, massive, huge. And then I guess I got rid of the house, or I think the wife owns it now, and they then rented it out, and I guess it was Justin Bieber's house before he married Haley, and then they finally moved to another home, but I guess Justin Bieber lived there for like a year, and then now this is the Phase House, and this is a super gorgeous house. It's unbelievable. I think it's worth $30 million or something like that, and it actually is on Toluca Lake. I've never seen Toluca Lake, because I didn't know where the hell it was, or if there was a lake, but it's actually on this little area which is called Toluca Lake. So we had a great time shooting yesterday, doing some fun stuff.
I know who the FaZe Clan is, because my little guy, I've got a son, he's 11, and he watches all that stuff. And this is the truth, Murray. He's actually also a fan of yours. I didn't tell you this earlier, but he enjoys watching your videos a lot. The prank ones, especially when you're messing with cops and stuff.
Yeah.
He's quite a fan of those.
Not to just enjoy it. Don't get himself in trouble.
Which leads me to our next topic, which I would love to talk a little bit about, which is you being in the online space with these videos, YouTube and Facebook, and you've been on TMZ, you've been featured in a lot of places. But why don't you talk about how you decided to go in on that? Because it's not an easy decision that I'll just shoot a video. Like, if you want to do this stuff, from what I understand, you have to do it a lot. Consistency is everything. So
yeah.
What made you take the jump to go into all this?
It was 5 years ago, 2015. I was looking for something new and different. And they're branched by businesses, we get paid for all this stuff,
Yep.
And all the videos we put out there because of advertising. And originally I used it just as promoting myself and my ticketed shows that I toured, because the exposure.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first year or two you do this, you don't make any money. You know what I mean? It's a lot of work to get up and running and all that. But then it started to kick around, and now it's a separate entity now, But the nice thing is they both overlap because when I'm out in public, the two most recognized shows I'm from is either Pawn Stars on History Channel,
Mhm.
which is usually people 35 and over, and then anyone under that is usually kids or younger people that recognize from YouTube, And then the other TV shows are in between, but those are the two genres. And I go under Magic Murray on YouTube because you want to have a trendy name. When you're on YouTube, people call you by your new YouTube name.
Mhm.
And so when we built this, we were, let's make it Magic Murray because you look like that. It's easy to remember. Magic's in the first word because that's what they're looking for. That's what you do, So people who say Magic Murray, I know it's from YouTube because that's the only place I really use that. And then Murray the Magician and Murray Sawtooth, obviously I use on all my other stuff. So it's interesting, but you got to run as a business, and I did a lot of work, and thinking, trying to be different and unique and upload new stuff. It's not always easy. Some videos are great and some just aren't as good because they're just not as good. It's hard to put always like when you write an album as a singer, you have 3 hits on it and the rest are lovely, but they're not a hit.
Yeah, well said. When it comes to doing this stuff, and I know this is a big question, so if you want to just give a couple quick points, that would be cool.
Sure.
People that want to jump into that space, I know we're talking about consistency and it's a lot of work, but do you have any advice for someone that's looking to make the jump into YouTube and try to do some of the things that you're doing? Because, it's a very popular thing and it seems to only becoming more and more mainstream as time goes on, doing things like YouTube or even with Facebook, just going viral. Any advice for people that want to do that type of stuff?
Yeah, you want to do it, just do it. Get a camera, get a good camera. You can buy a vlog camera for about 500, 600 bucks. So get a good camera, 4K, that you can get some good quality. The quality is very important because if anyone wants to license your material that's out there and use it on TV, you want the quality to be good. So get a good camera. That's where it came from. That's why you just think of cool ideas,
Yeah. Here's a good question. Talking about these type of videos that you do, Ellis wants to know, have you ever had a close call with the police officer? Obviously, you're doing all these, cop videos, and you ever had any trouble with that?
Of course, yeah, of course I have. But we never show that on camera. A couple of times we have a couple ones that we let it run along so people can see, and they're in there. They're in my video channel if you find them. But we show if there's any problems. We never show that on camera usually. But usually I'd say 90% of the time at the end of it, the cop's super cool. And they're really awesome. Either we got to blur their face because they are working. We don't want that out there, or some of them are cool with it because we're just having a good time. But usually at the end, sometimes they realize who I am and they go, "Oh my God, that's right." And so it's a nice laugh. And most of the time they're really really cool people, and they're doing a lot of good for our world. I know right now it's always a love-hate thing with all sorts of people of authority, and I know people have different opinions, but there's a lot of good cops out there that are doing a good job and working hard, and we need them, out there still doing a good job to keep us safe. I know there's a few out there that aren't the greatest, unfortunately. It makes it rough for a lot of the others, but there's a lot of great ones out there, and some are personally my friends. So
kind of like magicians. There's some really good ones and there's some really shitty ones.
Don't get me started.
Seems to be a lot more shitty ones than good ones, but whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it happens. It happens. You know what? It's like, I forget who it was. Some star said, I can't remember who it was. It was Dean Martin or somebody. But magic is the only art form you can buy your way into. And what I mean by that is you can buy a trick. I can show it to you in 5 minutes, and it works, and it looks like you have talent. There's no other art form you can do that with. I can't give you 5 balls and say juggle. I can't give you a violin and say play it. I can't give you a banjo and say do it. I can't give you a soccer ball and say kick it in the net or a basketball. It's the only profession that you can buy your talent. And I think that's a reason why we have a lot of crap magicians around, because people don't put enough time into the personality, the delivery, the work it takes to walk on stage and off stage, and the bits. They just don't. And that's just my opinion, but I stick to it. You try any other talent, ventriloquism. Try doing that. Within 5 minutes of walking on stage, it won't happen.
Well, it's easier now that everyone's wearing masks. But
You're right. It's the right time to be a ventriloquist. Very funny.
I want to give you a little love before I let you go over there. One thing I didn't realize, because my son's a little older, one of our viewers says that his 5-year-old daughter loves watching you from YouTube, but also from your appearances on TV on Ryan's World, which I believe was a huge TV show on Nickelodeon the kid opening up
Yeah,
all the toys, right?
yeah. Ryan's Playdate, Ryan's Mystery Playdate. Yeah, a buddy of
Wow.
mine works for the show, and of course Ryan's a massive YouTuber. Right, he's the biggest, highest paid YouTuber out there,
And how old
and
is he? How old is he?
he's like 12 at the time. I think like
The
10 or
highest paid,
12.
and he's 12.
Yeah, yeah. And his parents are super cool, but they're really nice parents. They're not stage parents. They get it. No one's pushing the kid to do what he's doing. He really enjoys it. Yes, the parents are involved and they love what he do, but they're really just normal parents. And it's just kind of something that really took off, and they're going with it. The parents are very smart. I believe one's and I could be wrong on this, a biochemist or something, and an engineer, but they're very smart parents, very intelligent. And now they're working obviously all together on their son's interest, and then now they have a second season on Nickelodeon, and we had a great time doing that. And I came on as a magician, because each episode is somebody different, a karate instructor, a roller skater, whatever it is, and I was the magician role, and we had a great time with that. And it's crazy how many people recognize me from that one show. Yeah, I'll do some shows where I do 18, 20 episodes of a show over a certain amount of years, and I do one episode of that type of show, and you get recognized, because it's all about the popularity.
Yeah, I believe it. That the whole YouTube thing is just crazy now. It's almost like more popular than TV, which is amazing.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Yeah, most kids watch YouTube. They don't even know what's on TV.
Yeah.
I mean, so.
And one more bit of love also from Roger. He says, my buddy Roger says, I really appreciate all the support that Murray gives to our military and veterans. I got a great photo with Murray and Lefty on Nellis Air Force Base. I appreciate that Murray did a USO tour as well. So I want to give you some love on that, because that's something that, a lot of people probably don't even know about, because it's not something you're out there like promoting, but that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a huge fan of that. I grew up watching Bob Hope do the USO shows, when I wasn't alive then, but I saw the old ones with Vietnam and stuff like that. And, with Toby Keith going over there, and Wayne Newton, I really looked up to those guys. I'm Canadian, I'm now American, and I have a citizenship in both countries. And I got my citizenship February 13th, 2009 in Vegas. And I'm really honored to be a citizen of the United States, as well as being Canadian. And I said to myself, well, being a citizen of this great country, because it's given me my career, without being in the States, I wouldn't have a show on Las Vegas Strip. I wouldn't tour the world. I wouldn't have played the Magic Castle, all this stuff. And I said, well, the least I can do is give back to the country that has invited me and accepted me, and to give me a cool career. And the least I can do is go and support the USO military. Without them, we wouldn't be sitting here enjoying our lives. We'd be in a lot of trouble. And we're very fortunate, and I love doing the USO tour. I did that a few years ago with a couple of buddies of mine, Howard and David, who are in the military, and they invited me to come with them. We did Guantanamo Bay, Honduras, Greenland, AUTEC, which is down in the Bahamas, and we had a really, really great, and like I said, Cuba was really cool as well. But to see these guys working away and really, giving all their time to protecting our country, and it's a big deal for me.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And speaking of time, I want to thank you as well for your time today. I know you've got a busy day of videos to go shoot, and all that.
Yeah.
But, speaking of that, if people want to keep up with you and watch this stuff, I know you've mentioned your YouTube thing a little bit, but anywhere online, socially, Facebook, YouTube, website, wherever, where can people find more about you if they want to see more about your videos or just more about Murray in general?
You can always find me on my website, which is murraymagic.com. And my YouTube channel is Magic Murray, YouTube/Magic Murray. So basically, if you put my name, Murray the Magician, into Google, you will see more pages than you ever need to see on me. But we're on TikTok as Murray the Magician, Instagram as Murray the Magician, Magic Murray on YouTube. So any combination of Murray and Magic, you will find me, and you'll find more stuff than you ever want to see on me. And then coming up this coming week is my newest TV show I've been lucky enough to be on. It's called World's Funniest Animals, and I'm a huge animal advocate, rescuing animals. We have 3 Chihuahuas that I've rescued. I've actually rescued 5 Chihuahuas in total, and if I get another 2, I've got a husky, so I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, so that's a new show coming out on CW. Just premiered last Friday, and I think I'm on this Friday or next. And it's a whole thing with animals and my dogs, and it's a good, cool thing. It's kind of a fun family thing to watch. So if you're out there and you want to see it, it'll be on the CW Friday night. So
sounds good. And also, don't forget, you can see Murray on Masters of Illusion. You're on a lot of the episodes there too. So, and that's also on the CW. So forgot about that.
That's right. Yeah, it's on there for 7 seasons now. Great show, and it's still airing for another month. So check that out as well. Some great magicians on there as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for hanging with us today, answering a lot of questions. I know we were kind of all over the place, with a lot of different topics, but you're a man of many talents. You wear a lot of hats. So, it's been fun getting to know you more. And I hope that once all this stuff clears, our paths cross at least, sometime soon after we're able to hang out
Oh,
and
for sure.
see each other. I know I saw you last year at
Yeah,
Magic
yeah.
Live.
So many times.
uh, when I was walking into Magic Live last year, my son was with me, and I swear he saw you, and he's like, "Oh my God, that's Murray! That's Murray!" So, yeah,
Well, that's sweet. Well, tell your son I say hello, and I hope to see him again very soon. And you guys are always a guest at my show when we open back up the Tropicana, because we will be back open sooner or later. And so come by, bring your son, and we'll hang out, and we'll catch up some more and see a show.
All right. Well, for me and Murray the Magician, you guys take care out there. Stay safe, stay good, and I will catch you all next time. See you guys.
Thanks, guys.